Good Friday morning of the 17th week. I just got back from riding my bike. I'm a little goofy. I had mass, I did the other videos the first Monday to Thursday, and then I went and had mass at St. Mark's, and I got home and took Lily out, took her to the park where she does her numbers, so to speak. And then I come back and I just rode my bike before it got too hot. So it's really late in the morning now. It's 10 o'clock, 10:30, okay? But what I'm commenting on or reflecting on is the text from the 17th week in Ordinary Time Friday, okay? So you know that, but that's where I came from, okay? So if I look a little disheveled, because I just got off my bike a few minutes ago. So I rode for about 50 minutes, 5:0. It keeps me healthy. Whatever. Anyway, the text today is really tricky in the gospel, I have to say. I even looked up a commentary a couple minutes ago, and I didn't find it very helpful. But anyway, I share a thought with you, okay? He said, Jesus came to his native place, and he taught the people in the synagogue. They were astonished, and they said, where did this man get such wisdom and mighty deeds? Isn't he the carpenter's son? Is he not? Is not his mother Mary and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Are not his sisters here with us? Where did this man get all this? And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his native place and in his own house. And he did not work many mighty deeds there because of their lack of faith. Well, I think that probably, what do I think of that? I think of the church in culture, within our own culture. And very often, the wisdom of the church is unacceptable within the culture, the most familiar of all her cultures. See? I could be wrong. But whenever I read I told you this yesterday or the day before, whatever. Whenever I read the Gospels, I think of the early church. This is the preaching of the early church in the context of the early church. And my guess is that there was a lot of distrust within the church with regard to her wisdom. So what they said, well, who's this guy? He's nothing but a carpenter. I think the truth of the matter is the familiarity of the leadership of the church at that time, was ordinary. And therefore, in their mind, rejectionable. You can reject it. I would think there was an inner struggle going on within the early church because the leadership was so ordinary. Christ was an ordinary carpenter. Where did he get so smart? Where did the apostles get so smart? And yet, Christ is the wisdom of God incarnate, and the apostles were the great preachers of Christ, therefore the wisdom of God. And the church continues that to this day. In a sense, the church is the ordinary people of God. She's had her brilliant leaders. She's certainly had some brilliant popes and clergy or bishops, etc. But the truth of the matter, and she's had some incredibly brilliant scholars. You wouldn't have Western civilization if it weren't for them. But on the other hand, the life and the preaching of the church is very ordinary. It's in the ordinariness of the home, the ordinariness as you live your family lives, and the ordinariness of the local church, where as a community we get together, we pray together, and we learn from each other together, you see. Together we learn together. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And it's easy to reject her wisdom from within, to say, who are you to tell me? You know, we're seeing that today in a lot of ways. The church has certainly entered into a very serious moral controversy in at least contemporary Western culture. The birth control issue and the abortion issue are two of the most significant because they deal with the intimacy of human life and human rights. And in these cases, the church is certainly preaching a very, very undesirable gospel. It's a wisdom unsought of. You see the wisdom of the world instead of the wisdom of the cross. And the church has got no choice. She must preach the gospel, whether we like it or not. You see. But the rhetoric at the time is so antithetical to it. And you've got to wonder, what do our young people what voice are they listening to? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. What voice are they listening to? Are they hearing the church and saying, what's she got to tell me? Who are they to tell me? I say for women over my body on the abortion issue. Right? Who are they to tell me? Okay? That's just the truth. Okay? And yet the wisdom of the church the wisdom of the church, if you stop and think and reflect, is unchallengeable. Her defense of human rights and human dignity is unquestionable. And she recognizes the inviolability of a human person from conception to death. It's not political. She's metaphysical. She's looking at the reality, not the politics of it, and not what we want or we as a culture seek, but what is true. See, that's the truth. And her own views on the sacrality of sexual activity in marriage. Not trying to prevent people from enjoying their sexual union in marriage, but to retain its dignity. It's not a toy. It's not a plaything. It's an expression of human love, and therefore should be treated with reverence and love and generosity. Right? But the church, her voice, especially I think today in America, most especially, and in the West, it comes across as a male voice, and therefore rejectionable. See? And so we live in a difficult time because the church's voice is muted. See, it's muted by the loud sounds of present ideologies. This is the truth. But it's nothing foreign about that. It's been the case forever. On the other hand, the wisdom of the church has flourished, even, and especially when she's under the most amount of fire. She has persevered through it all. Yeah. We'd be wise to listen to her, to listen to the church with reverence and respect, not subservience, but with a with a wisdom of listening. It takes wisdom to listen and to see, not just to speak. It's a combination of all the above. We as a community of faith, from the Pope to the simplest person in the pew or anywhere, we are a community of faith, a community rooted in the wisdom of the incarnate God, Christ himself, and his body, the church, the life of the church. You see? I don't know, I think I did a very poor job just now, but I see the church in the same position that Christ was in here, being challenged from within. Not so much from without, but from within. Because the church's voice and the wisdom she preaches to her own, let alone to the broad world, but especially to her own, is not a comfortable gospel, not given the culture that we're in. See? It's not comfortable. And it's easily rejectionable. You can reject it easily. And I think the most painful thing today is, and for me in the point of the church, is the rejection from within. The rejection of the wisdom of the church. Rejected by her own members. Not by the communists, not by the atheists, from within. It's just what you have in the gospel. When the guy says, who's he? He's just a carpenter. Think of the church. Who are they to tell me? We know their family. We know these guys. They're nothing. They're just Joe average. What they fail, I think, to recognize is that the wisdom of the church, and this takes an act of faith, is inspired by the Spirit of God. The infallible Spirit of God. The church never preaches a false gospel. And the true gospel is a gospel of profound humanism. We are the greatest teachers on human dignity because we believe in the human divine Christ